Well, the biggest companies for sure are those located in the world's largest economy. So we have the US for sure is the top five for many, many years, the UK, France, and so on, China as well. But we have companies in other places in the world too, which quite with quite interesting developments as well. Of course, we have Turkey that has been producing, for instance, drones that have been used in the war in Ukraine. We have South Korea as well, whose arms exports have been really growing the past few years. So we can see already also like other points around the world of emergent producers, so to speak.
I was talking about how people were very supportive of Biden. Someone just got in touch to say Biden reminds everyone he's just as grubby as Trump, but a blinding hypocrite to boot. The Democrats love to claim the moral high ground like our Labour Party, so wrongdoing by them feels even more insulting. Catherine coming down quite hard on Joe Biden there. The Defence Minister, John Healey, has announced this morning yet another industrial strategy for the UK defence industry. Not much new money being thrown around, but there will be a Defence Industrial Council. And there were some new investments announced too. Helsing, a European defence startup, I wonder if that name comes from the vampire hunter Van Helsing, is going to build a factory in the UK to make AI-powered drones. One of Healy's themes was the link between a vibrant defence industry and the strength of the economy overall.
National security at home and abroad is the foundation for the stability, the certainty and confidence, which in turn are the preconditions for economic success. My aim is to align the imperatives of strong national security with a high growth economy, ensuring that defence in particular contributes fully to the government's number one mission, which is to secure higher economic growth throughout the UK.
Well, that point around defence and economic growth has certainly been a big export industry for the UK, is a very interesting one. Today, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, which is the top research body really that keeps an eye on the international arms industry, has put out its annual report on who's making money and how big the defence industry is. Dr. Diego Lopes de Silva, senior researcher at the Institute, joins us. Diego, thank you for joining us. Could you just put some numbers on this for us? How big is the worldwide defence industry and how quickly is it growing at the moment?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Well, at this point, we have reached 632 billion. And this is a 4.2% increase compared to last year. It's a sector that is growing at the moment due to increased tensions. We have, for instance, the war in Gaza, the war in Ukraine, geopolitical tensions rising. We're at a point where we have nearly 60 ongoing active armed conflicts in the world. So all of those components together, they really push those numbers up.
Is it, I mean, because people here in the UK tend to think about the defence industry as being like a UK, US, Europe, Russia. Is it those obvious beneficiaries, those who are having the biggest increase in turnover, or is it everywhere in the world?
Well, the biggest companies for sure are those located in the world's largest economy. So we have the US for sure is the top five for many, many years, the UK, France, and so on, China as well. But we have companies in other places in the world too, which with quite interesting developments as well. Of course, we have Turkey that has been producing, for instance, drones that have been used in the war in Ukraine. We have South Korea as well, whose arms exports have been really growing the past few years. So we can see already also like other points around the world of emergent producers, so to speak.
But it is interesting that it's growing now because one of the facts around government spending in the West certainly in the UK over the past 10 years has been this idea of the peace dividend. Do governments like the UK government have to think again and think, well, actually, that peace dividend has now gone into reverse?
Well, the idea of those peace dividends, this can be, of course, discussed. The idea there was that, well, if military spending decrease, we can reallocate those funds to other areas that will propel economic development, so to speak. What the Europeans are now kind of questioning that idea is that the cuts that began in the 90s, during precisely that period of the peace dividends, in a way harmed their defensive capabilities. And this has led to the current situation where they could not deter an attack or they could not deter Russia's actions. This is their point of view, and this is why they have been making pledges to increase their military spending, making plans that will stretch some of them up until 2030. So we are at this point really watching the reversal of that idea that they're really pushing military spending up at the moment.
And some of that money, of course, is flowing. We had this announcement from Helsing investing in the UK this morning. Some of this money is going to companies that are not regarded as the traditional defence players.
Yes, we have emerging technologies, of course. So we're seeing more and more those companies from the tech sector, AI, for instance, of course, artificial intelligence being integrated into those military equipments, and this has, of course, will have major consequences to just how wars are carried out when it comes to autonomous weapons as well. If those weapons will make decisions or target who they're going to target and so on. This is a very big debate at the moment in this field of research. But yes, we are seeing those emergent producers for sure entering the field.
And just briefly, Diego, that you talked about the end of the peace dividend and Europe rearming. A lot of people make sort of historical comparisons to this era and the late 1930s in Europe. Is that an accurate analogy, do you think?
I am always afraid of analogies like that because they may force us into having pre-made solutions for things, and I think that every context needs a unique solution for that. I can see why one would say this with the rise of far-right political parties, with Europe rearming once again. I can see the analogies. At the same time, I would refrain from it because there are many differences that need to be addressed with very unique solutions for these times.
Thank you, Dr. Diego Lopes da Silva from the Stockholm Institute on Arms Research. $630 billion globally. It is a big industry.